All right, so welcome to episode 7 of Snapverse616. This week we have guest star Malkuvius on stream here with me and Jer, and he's a pretty dope snapper. He's taught me a few cool things about the game, and also likes to do a lot of community decks and play a lot of community decks, and that's fun. So welcome on the podcast, and I guess tell us about yourself a little bit.
All right. Well, first off, thank you for having me on here. It's great to be here. Every now and then you always talk about the podcast, and I'm like, oh, that always sounds really interesting. So it's really nice to actually be on here one week.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, my name is Malkuvius. I play a lot of Snap. I probably play more Snap than I actually do my real job, but we're not going to talk about that. But I prefer to play like combo decks, puzzle pieces, if you will, that fit together real nice, and just they may not win you very many cubes constantly, but when they do win, it's always the most fulfilling in my opinion.
Nice. I like fun decks like that. So I guess first thing we got announced pool reductions coming on the 31st of the month, January 31st. So the first one is the series drop from 5 to 4. They're going to reduce Super Skrull, Shuri, Black Panther, Valkyrie, and Bass. Black Panther makes sense because it seems like every time a Season Pass card is 2 months old, they drop it down to pool. But this time it's pool 4. I think last time they dropped Miles to pool 3, but it was kind of a weaker card. So, and then the pool 4 to 3. She-Hulk just constantly getting no love or getting too much love, so she gets punished for it. Something.
That's the one that's weird to me. Looks like She-Hulk from 4 to 3. Like, there's other cards, I guess, that I would have considered moving, but
I think they just know it's powerful, right? And they want more people to have it. I think that's really what it comes down to. Same with, I think, Absorbing Man, because you're seeing a lot of Absorbing Spider right now, and that's disgusting, and how do you compete if you don't have access?
Yeah, I believe.
I had Absorbing. I probably put on the notes that
I would say for the most part, a lot of these make sense personally to me. She-Hulk, for example, is probably one of the most acquired pool 4 cards currently, and she fits in a lot of decks. So it makes a lot of sense that they would want more people that are early pool 3 to have a chance of pulling her as well, because the biggest thing is there's a large disparity between those in pool 3 and below, even though you might be similar ranking on the scale. And the interesting portion of collection level versus in-game rank and how that can affect how your matchmaking goes can really differ depending on what cards you're seeing.
Right.
And the fact that She-Hulk might actually show up now for people in low pool 3 means that they can probably build more of those higher, like what are considered high tier pool 3 decks a lot easier.
That's true. I know I wanted her. You're cutting out a little bit there.
And then therefore gain a higher rank because they've got the cards to compete.
I mean, yeah. When I bought Shuri after getting the APOC pack, I shot to Vibranium that season, where the previous season it took me a little bit longer. So they definitely can make a big swing for you. I do like seeing Luke Cage drop down because he's in my shop right now. I pinned him, so 31st he'll be cheap, and maybe by then I'll have 1,000 and I can finally run like Typhoid Mary without having to play 0 first. That'd be nice.
Yeah, Luke Cage is a nice one. I like that one.
I would say he's probably one of the ones that makes the most sense. Personally, if I had started this game and decided deciding card pools, Luke Cage would have been pool 3 to begin with, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He doesn't really fit into a bunch of decks. He's not really overpowered in that sense either. You're not seeing a lot of minuses in the game besides Hazmat and Scorpion and
locations.
Yeah.
And locations.
Yeah.
So it's really not a He's more of a tech card in the sense, and less of a card you build around.
Yeah. Because I think outside Hazmat, you got Atlantean decks that he can work for, and that's about it. Because he'll keep them at their big number once they're played alone.
I know personally I've been sitting and staring at my Hazmat in my collection, wondering if I'll ever get to use it. So him coming down to pool 3 is very nice for me.
Yeah. And then Titania is good because I know, in Pool 3, there's a lot of people with zero Titania. That's pretty sweet. You know, and especially like if you're trying to build a deck around those kind of cards, you can throw Titania in there now with Ebony Maw, and it's not an all or nothing curve on turn 1 through 3 for like 2 cards. Now you got options, and I think that's really a nice thing.
That's an
Gives a little more
interesting.
flexibility. Gives a little more flexibility to people that are, just
Yeah.
starting out or like maybe not just starting out, but like people that are, you know,
They're in Pool
kind of
3
just
and want
getting
some
into
good
it.
cards. Yeah.
Yeah. Starting to take it serious, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the more.
That's an interesting combination that you bring up, by the way, Smokey. The Ebony Maw plus Titania. Just like imagining somebody vomiting their entire hand on one location with those cards, and then watching Titania ping pong back and forth is kind of funny.
Yeah. But if you were to
When-
if you were to zero into Titania, you could play her and then still play Ebony Maw, and instead of like have to zero Ebony Maw, you could be like, I feel pretty good about, because that's what 15. That's not bad.
That's not bad for early turn too, right? Like,
Yeah, literally a 15 power combo, kind of shut a location out just by power alone and threat. You are at the risk of Killmonger, but
the biggest weakness to Titania is the fact that without getting rid of her ability, then you are ping ponging back and forth, right?
yeah,
So I've actually won a number of games because people would lay tight. Like when she first dropped, I won a number of high cube games because people would ping pong it back
Right.
and forth, and I would win the ping pong. So she would end up on my side, even if she wasn't my card.
I could see her in an Electro situation too, where like, turn 5, you got like an Xavier in your tech deck or something like that, or a Spidey, and you just play Titania with the Xavier. She can't really move. That's a nice 5 with his 3. That's an 8. That gives you a little bit more juice on an Xavier play than you normally have. Granted, you got to run it in an Electro deck, but I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, there's a couple more setups you would need for that combination to work, since Electro does limit you to playing 1 card per turn. But
Yeah, you'd want an Enchantress him or something like that.
Yeah,
It would be,
you have to run Enchantress in your deck as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's not an issue either. You see a lot of people carnaging their Electros these days, so
Yeah, and if you were running like a 0 type deck with any of these kind of cards, you could also just put Beast in there and bring that back. Like, because he'll have already given you the energy on the reveal, and his
that's actually a
ongoing's
pretty
gone.
interesting.
Yeah, you can just beast
Can
him
you-
back. Oh, I love it. We got 2 people on the cast with animals that like to show up and be like, "What's up? I'm on here now."
She was literally was not even in here until like a few seconds ago, and now she wants to come and just rub her face over all of my monitors. Can you not right now, please? Thank you.
It's like Jer's dog Cassie. She'll just run in.
Here, if
and
you want to
start
show up,
licking.
you're gonna be on camera. Come here. Nope, that she didn't want to be on camera. She ran away immediately.
Nice. Yeah, Cosmo would be a good one. You're right, because you could remove reveals for like the future cards, right? That are played.
Yeah. Yep.
So they couldn't like Killmonger your 1 costies.
Yeah, I mean, you could also probably run armor in those side of decks in the first place. So
Yeah, especially if you get it in the right order that you can play Maw and the armor and not get stuck not being able to play cards, because you do have to play Maw by 3. But I mean, if you've got like 0 in there and play it right, you'd be all right.
But for the next section, we have his Untouchables, which I also agree with in Galactus and Donner.
Yes. Yeah.
big bads.
Yeah. That.
Lore-wise, too, right? Like, lore-wise, these are your 2, like, arguably almighty, characters, right? Galactus literally fucking destroys worlds.
Yeah.
and
Eats planets for
Eater of
breakfast.
worlds.
Yep. Little snack,
Thanos,
Pluto.
well, he was the big bad, right? So-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a lot of people, at least in the MCU, I would say, probably don't know who Galactus is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had like a brief appearance in Fantastic Four 2, the one with like Alba and Yoan Gruffid and America's Ass before it was America's Ass, Chris Evans. So like that one had him, and it had a Norrin Rad Silver Surfer that was like there as the herald for Galactus. But yeah, that's like the only time I think we've really actually seen him.
Man,
It's
I hate
funny
that.
because Kevin Feige teased him in an interview a couple years ago, so I have a feeling he will show up in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
But
no.
they had licensing issues at that time, which they don't have now.
Yeah. I bet he's who they go with once they roll through Kang.
I really need them to hurry up and bring out a new version of Silver Surfer because unfortunately
Yes.
that from the previous Fantastic Four lives rent free in my mind, and I need him to. I can't evict him. Unfortunately, it's really sad.
When they rebooted the comic for Silver Surfer in the 2010s, it was actually a pretty dope storyline.
I'm interested to see where the MCU goes with Fantastic Four, but I'm
Yeah,
also worried about it.
because it's Marvel's first
I don't want
family, and they keep
I
trying to get
don't
it
want
right.
them to do I don't want them to do a period piece movie. I'm not a big fan of period piece movies.
Boo. I like them.
I doubt we'll get a. We might get like a Fantastic Four origin story, but I don't think it's going to be in a similar vein of what they've done before, especially based off of how they've done the like heroes that didn't show up beforehand.
Yeah.
All the rumors are it's going to be set in the 1950s New York, which
I mean, that's
I
chill.
like.
It's not like they really age.
I mean, it makes sense because that would be a good way of starting another phase, which they're in the process of doing right now. So
Yeah.
it's like it would make sense for them to do a 1950s period piece movie.
And something always connects to the past, too. They did it with Cap and then, Shield and stuff
And
before.
I think this will be their new Cap. Like this will be compared to Cap in the MC. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, Reed Richards is a very, like,
Again, they
leader
are
character.
starting the next big phase of the Marvel movies. So
But yeah, so Ben Brode said he's not touching these two. He considers them like the big bads of the game, the supervillains, and he doesn't think that they should drop down in pools. Like they should be difficult to access because they are quite powerful, and I agree with that.
and can be game breaking. Like if you put Galactus with Kroll or
Null.
however you pronounce it.
Null, yeah.
Null. Sorry, I always.
It's all good.
When you put Galactus with Null, man,
Oh yeah,
it's an unbeat because it turns it from a
Yeah.
3-lane game to a 1-lane game.
Yeah,
And
there
it's unstoppable.
there are quite a few combinations with those two cards that can be a little strong. Thanos is unfortunately quite underpowered
yes, agreed.
for his stature, but Galactus, on the other hand, definitely has a lot of different combinations that can make him very oppressive, and
Oh, yeah.
I can almost guarantee they're going to include more of those in the future. But Thanos is very specific, and I think
Yeah.
unfortunately, unless they rework him, he's probably going to stay on the latter end of the power scale.
Yeah, and
I
those stones are so weak. I mean, they're powerful, but I mean, literally, Killmonger can just run in and be like, "Thanos sucks," and that's the end of his day.
I mentioned this when they dropped Thanos the first time, but to me, Thanos compares to Exodia in the Yu-Gi-Oh card games,
Yep,
Where
there
it's
needs.
where it can be an unstoppable card, but everything has to be played perfectly.
They need to do something more for when you drop all the power stone when you drop all the stones. There he can't just gain power from it.
Yeah.
It needs to either, you know, spread that throughout every single lane or give you some sort of advantage into maybe it's underpowered in the sense of he's first off he can easily be destroyed.
Yep.
You never know if you're going to see all the stones or not.
Yep.
And I mean, your locations obviously can make a big difference as well. So
I kind of feel a simple change they could make is to just build his power per stone in play, and then
What if they guaranteed that you would see all those stones would instantly go to your hand? What if that was a thing?
I mean,
well, there you have another issue. in the sense
Yeah.
of your hand is full of stones.
Yeah, now you've got a
You
stuffed
don't have the
deck.
other cards to play.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
one card at a time until you've played enough of them out. I mean, like if you had Thanos in your deck and you started with stones in your hand, say, you'd have to play out a bunch of those to even start seeing what's in your deck, and your deck still
Which is
has
holographic.
12 cards.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're really going to be at a disadvantage.
They could kind of
And
give him
it's
the
still
Agatha
not-
treatment, in my opinion.
That would be cool.
Let him start in your hand, just make it so you can't play him.
Yeah.
And maybe make maybe make the stones a little stronger, and then if you played out all the stones, then you get to play Thanos or something similar.
Yeah.
Or you play Thanos and he calls all the stones to your hand or something. It's
Yeah, like
it's,
a Jane Foster effect.
Yeah, you just need more synergy between his effects and the stones effects, in my
Agreed.
opinion.
Agreed.
I like the Agatha idea. I really do. It'd be interesting if, like, also, like, the more stones you played, the less energy he took. You know what I mean?
That would be
That
really
would,
good too.
Yeah, that would work.
On
Yep.
final turn.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're using energy to play these stones. They're not free.
Exactly.
So if they're
And
gonna
for the most
and-
part. So,
and they're pretty weak. Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
most of them are 1/1s except for the Power Stone, which is a 1/3. It's and maybe
Exactly.
have some sort of synergy when they're all on the field. Like we don't have synergy effects right now, which is something that I think a lot of people are wishing the game had,
yes.
because there's a lot more appropriate synergy effects that could go into effect that would be really nice. So
like
you know,
a
like
shield deck could have synergy effects, right?
it's I would have to be. I feel like you wouldn't be able to be as generic as that because I think like almost every single hero in Marvel has been with Shield at some point. But it's similar same with like the Avengers or something. But like maybe like you have all the Sinister Six in a deck, or you have all the Fantastic Four in a deck. Because like there are people that have joined the Fantastic Four, but they're not the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I guess for like Shield, I was thinking like the main ones like Maria Hill, Nick Fury, and the Quinjet.
Oh, okay, yeah, like
the
Shield
draw,
agents,
the actual draw
Yeah.
cards. Yeah.
Yeah,
Agent
Okay.
13.
yeah, no, those would those would make a lot more
proper
sense together.
Shield,
Yeah,
like people that have been in proper Shield, like
And have the actual effects for it. Like if they had a greater
yeah,
synergy.
yeah.
I could think like back to the Fantastic Four one. If you had all four of those, it would be cool. Like say Mr. Fantastic, instead of having like +2 to locations, he's still only a 2 power, but the locations are like +4 or something instead. Like something like that. That'd be cool.
Yep. A bigger swing if you've got all of these other cards
Yeah.
to go with it.
Yeah.
The only issue then is the fact that a lot of these cards right now have very power scales on their own.
Yeah.
Eventually, like things useless outside of Patriot. For the most part, he's a big body. You're not really doing much with him. Invisible Woman doesn't really work out in that sort of scale. Helps
Yeah,
you keep
she's
things
like a wall
hidden, but
deck guy. Yeah.
yeah,
The-
effects would have to
the
change a bit.
I think the thing that a lot of people have to take into account is the fact that this game is still like basically brand new. We haven't had a full release
Oh,
yet.
Yeah. True.
So like a lot of this stuff is going to change. It's going to be messed up every now and again, and it's going to come around as long as we keep showing support and the devs can continue to improve the game and it doesn't just die because
Yeah.
we stop supporting it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
One of the updates that they have coming in is going to be the first edition card badges. That's going to be cool. So like going back to the pool drops and reductions. So like for me, I have Shuri from like the jump. I bought her when I got the APOC pack, and I had like 6,000 tokens or whatever total from like my CL granting them to me, and then that. And so I bought her straight up. I wanted She-Hulk, but I'm glad I didn't because she got dropped down twice. I would have felt really bad about spending those tokens.
Yeah.
But I bought Shuri, but she's getting dropped down now. But I'll get a founder's badge even once they introduce it, even though like they haven't done it yet. So that'll be kind of cool. Like when people see my Shuri in play, they'll be like, "Oh damn, that guy was fucking shit up with that." Like from the first season, she was available. So that'll be kind of cool. And then for the token shop, they're planning on improving that so that if you've collected all the pool 3 cards, you get more collector's tokens in your caches in total. So they said like percentage wise it's 500% more you're supposed to get, but this hasn't taken effect yet. But the theory behind this one is people who have finished pool 3 are not seeing enough tokens to actually get the good cards that they want to get, and I think the caches are still 1 in 40 for those cards after pool 3, so you still don't see the cards very often. You're mostly getting collector's tokens. Now they're increasing the amount.
Yeah, to loop back to that the card badges piece though, I have mixed feelings on that in general. A lot of things, first off, is if I see a Series 5 card to begin with, it's like, okay, well, you got the 1% luck chance. I'm already seeing the fact that you have a Series 5 card,
Right?
And we don't know how fast those things are going to fall down to Series 4, and how fast those things are going to fall down to Series 3. It could be months in between these drops. We have no idea. I just think that, like, sure, okay, you've got a badge now, but I mean, like, I feel like that you're already rewarded by the fact that you got the card.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just trying to combat the salt factor for, like, how I said, say I got that She-Hulk from the jump, and then she got reduced in pool like she did, and all that stuff. Then I'm like, well, damn, but I spent all those tokens and I got nothing for it. I think they're just, they're like, here, have a consolation prize because we didn't think that one through earlier. That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like you have this in a lot of different games.
Yeah.
Actually, like a lot of free-to-play games, you'll have, or just games in general with markets.
Yeah.
That have varying rarities of things, that might change possibly. People will always be a little upset when they spend for something and it falls down, But I feel like in this sense, we already knew cards were going to eventually fall down. So you can't be upset if you buy a card and it does eventually fall down. It's you chose to buy that card, And it's do you enjoy the card? Do you have fun with the card? Did you buy the card because you wanted the card? Then I don't think you can really complain about the fact that
I'm not upset
possibly
they're
costs
reducing
less
Shuri.
for someone else.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying like you in particular.
Oh no,
but I've definitely
I'm
been on
agreeing with
Reddit.
you. Yeah, like
I've definitely been on Reddit and heard people like complaining about the fact.
Yep. And I think they made the badge so that those people are like less noisy. Because I'm over here with my Shuri, like, I don't care. I played the shit out of her with Zabu when he came out, and that was fun as hell. So
yeah,
tokens
I think
well
it's
spent.
very strong.
Yeah, tokens well spent.
Very strong.
So then Ben Brode also had a leader change post, and I know you wanted to talk about that, Mel.
Yeah. Oh boy. Where to begin on this? So one of the things, I guess the first thing we should explain is who exactly leader is.
Worst card in game?
Because okay, so I actually went over this on stream yesterday because we were talking about the Leech leader decks and the fact that they're significantly more prevalent as of recent.
Right.
Because combo decks are a lot more prevalent as of recent, and that's exactly what those decks are meant to combat. Combo decks.
Yeah.
Leech gets rid of your your in-turn combo pieces, and then leader copies those combo pieces so that they're just stat sticks. It's one of those uninteractive play styles is what I like to call it.
That's a good way to call it. I'm gonna start saying that. It sounds less salty than what I usually say.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still salty about it.
But it sounds a lot better.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of leaders. I'd put a bounty on his head if I could. I don't like that card.
Yeah, but and this is something that comes from. I mean, you have like Jeff Hogland. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name, but people that have come from other card games, for example, like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, other card games like that, where you have cards that are just extremely overpowered and then they get nerfed into the ground or something like that, and
I've played pretty much every card game that exists.
Yeah, I mean, every card game has cards that when they're released, they're too strong.
Yeah,
it's very hard to balance things. In the sense of you have maybe like 20 to 100 people on testing, and then you release it out to hundreds of thousands or millions of players.
Yeah, how many
somebody's
things do
gonna
we
find
miss when we're playing somebody on a play they make? So I don't expect devs to get it all. Yeah,
somebody's going to find something that works in a way that the devs did not intend. And in this situation, unfortunately, it seems the devs did definitely intend for this card to work the way it does. Leader existed in the game, even back in beta. They had a lot of time to look at him and see how he played out.
That is
He
true.
didn't play. They didn't play him very often because combo decks weren't very prevalent, from what I've heard.
That's true. That's true. They were very like tall decks, very like conjunction plays on turn to turn versus like this card and this card and this card now, and then like
Yeah. So it didn't help as much to play leader. You could actually end up at a deficit just from playing him.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you saw that a lot in the early, like past season with Leech,
Yeah.
for example. You play Leech, but by playing Leech, you've put yourself so far back that you're now at a deficit.
Yeah.
And and Zabu kind of gets around that because you have the Spider-Man absorbing man tech or the Wong Darkhawk tech, and
Right.
they're playing out so many cards on turn 4 and turn 5 that even if you leech, their hand's probably small to begin with.
Yeah.
You're not hitting anything of importance, but you have Silver Surfer. For example, they're not playing their Silver Surfer until turn 6 usually, but you see a lot of people playing it on turn 5 nowadays because leech is so prevalent. You don't want to
Right.
get leeched, and then you have no chance of winning the game after that point.
exactly. Yep.
But back to leader, I want to say he got a 1-point nerf with this recent patch from 6.4 to 6.3, which actually has made a slight difference in some cases due to the fact that you need to have a minimum 3 now gap in between your opponent, which is a lot easier than a 4 gap, but in the sense it's still a gap you have to account for going into turn 6, which in the end is an issue in the sense of if I can play a card to be up at a location and then copy all the cards you play at that location as well is just
Yeah. So
not good for the game in my opinion.
yeah, his real weakness comes with having to specifically counter him, and having to specifically counter a card is never good for a game because it puts players that have to face a card they just don't want to run because it's not fun or uninteresting, as you said. It backs players into this corner where it's like, okay, well now I got to either play Taskmaster or I got to go like super wide so that my board is like so full that whatever they did, that my last turn is not going to help them.
Right, and it's one of those things where it's like if my opponent can not play any cards until turn 5 and turn 6 and beat me just due to the fact that they have a empty board board to copy the rest of the cards that I play.
Yep.
It's an issue, and I mean, like in the sense, you should still be playing around that, obviously.
Yeah.
But the problem comes with the fact that I have to play around leader every game I play.
Right, and when you're talking about they can do nothing for 2 turns, here's an example of exactly that. Or except for 2 turns. I ran into a leader that was played after a Shuri card. Never saw that coming in my life. I'll tell you I lost that game, and that that's one thing. But he played Shuri into leader because now leader's 6, and he gets all my cards. And I was just like, bro, that's dirty. That's like the minimum interest in uninteresting deck. Like, he's like, I'm going to like throw in 2% of caring about this, but it's still 98%. I don't give a shit. Here's turn 6. And that blew my mind. I was like, wow, I've never seen a leader deck actually like strategize to leader as opposed to just, here's some shit. I'm throwing it at the dartboard. Whatever happens, cool, because leader hits the bullseye for me every time, And
I will say that's a lot more interesting of a play than what you typically see with those leader decks.
Yeah.
Though they actually strategize in a sense of if I'm gonna be at a 6 power deficit, I can Shuri this leader. That's actually a pretty interesting combination. Gotta give him props on that, even though he played
least
leader.
mad I've ever been at losing to leader.
Doesn't say much.
When you have an entire community, when most of the players in your community, I would say, are up in arms about a card,
Right.
I feel like that is more telling than anything else.
Like, we're coming for
In
him
that
like the
sense.
Frankenstein monster with the pitchforks and all, and they're just like, we'll reduce him by 1.
Yeah, you have Green Man incoming spams in chat.
Right.
It's just like what are you expecting to happen?
Yep. But like rolling into the kind of the next segment, I'll I'll put the bumpers in post. But so in the strategy for success this week, we're talking about dealing with evolving metas. So we were like basically just talking about that, and it's kind of like the first question I was asking when I thought about this segment was: is there a rhyme or reason, a solid method, or a surefire or foolproof adjustment style? Because that's what everybody seeks out in these games, and that's what everybody gets baited by. For like, I don't want to like disrespect any content creator, so I would say for like content that's like less about fundamentals teaching and more about direct path to like victory kind of content, I'd say yeah, because you see a lot of this will get you to infinite, but you know you can try to apply that. It's not necessarily going to work for you because you don't understand the fundamentals of the deck or the fundamentals of the game surrounding, you know, how you have to play that. So I kind of feel it's a yes and no. I think it's kind of a yes in that everything we talk about and we teach you here in like superhero system and the strategy for success and the super squads and all that are like these fundamental things that no matter what the meta is or whatever changes, these things apply like independent of actual cards like in the game to an extent. And so you can use these like fundamentals, you know, every season. But I think like if you try to play like a meta deck and you focus on stuff like that as opposed to learning the fundamentals, then you end up in a situation where you're hurting yourself more than anything because you don't try to change with the game. And I think that's one of the things you have to do. Like we talked about last week, I played that specific Locked Ocean deck on night 1 because everybody played Zabu that night, and I was like, I have that card, but what if I just stole it from everybody else every game and I played Rogue? And it was nasty. Is that deck as effective today? Oh, hell no, because there's nothing for Rogue to consistently steal that's that OP for the deck at this point. But man, was it fun for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing you have to think about, especially in terms of a digital card game. Yeah. You know, they can drop patches at a heartbeat, and that can instantly change the meta and how people play and build decks. And when that comes around, you know, you might still be in the middle of climbing or in the middle of trying to go up in rank, and that can hurt you if you're not, you know, paying attention to exactly what's changing. And so you might see a lot of different decks during the interim periods, but when a patch comes out, a lot of people are going to be playing patch content, and you can use that to your advantage, or you can get punished by it.
Yep, like Altar of Death we'll talk about coming up soon. With that one, you could get punished by that, or you could just accept it, roll with it, and use it to climb. I did the latter.
I've been running a lot of death decks, so Altar of Death worked out great for me, but yeah. I think when it comes to like learning fundamentals of a game, I've been on both sides. Like, I mean, me and you have talked about this multiple times, Smokey, where it's like me and you in a game of Magic, who wins 9 out of 10 times if we're given the same deck?
Me.
9 out of 10 times you're gonna win, right?
Yeah.
But if you let me build a deck, like, and then you have to build a deck, and it's
I suck at that.
I'm winning probably 10 out of 10 times. Like, you're probably not gonna beat me.
No, I don't. I think my biggest strength in Snap is listening to other people, because even though the decks are smaller and it's a little easier for me to make decks, a lot of times one card change makes the world for a deck, and I won't see it and someone else will, and I'll be like, oh, sweet, I changed that. And it's like, now that I've got the change and I understand the fundamentals of the game, oh yeah, I can lock that in and just be like, oh, this works, and bam, 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 that's cubes, you know. But I think if you don't understand the fundamentals, you know, you can't just get handed a deck either. You know.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. You know, I actually have a pretty good example for that. For those of people that have run Death decks before, Death used to run the Hood like all the time.
Yeah.
Your turn 1 play would be the Hood.
I still run the Hood.
Some people do still play on the Hood, but a lot of people are switching to Yondu now. And I think one of the reasons why they chose that was because Yondu might possibly keep you priority on turn two. A lot of people are running armor. A lot of people are running Cosmo. And if you're not, if you're playing the hood and you're not immediately, getting rid of it, or if you're trying to carnage immediately and they have armor, or if you're trying to combo into Bucky Barnes, and then carnage on turn three or deathlock on turn three, there's a possibility that's going to get countered if you don't have priority, which the hood does not give you.
Yep, that's true. And I noticed that during the Altar of Death event, because there was a couple kinds of players. There was everybody who loved it, enjoyed it, embraced it, thought it was fun, and then there was the players who were like, I'm just going to play armor here and troll, and they had every right to, but what you say is 100% like the business for that, because I was going to either play Hood or Deadpool on Altar of Death, and I'm not going to have priority, and if they throw armor down, GG. They win literally off priority right there from that play. So that's definitely a good point.
I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to the locations, but there's some counters to Altar of Death that can pretty much guarantee you the win at that location.
I think we can roll into locations.
If you can win that location, then you're probably going to win the game, because the other person won't be able to win that location either. So it's like, then you've just got to win one of the other two, and that's a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, locking lanes is definitely very effective. Well, I think we'll roll into the locations, and then we'll go from there.
So, for Luke's bar, the ability is that it puts the card back in your hand that you play. So this is a good location that if you want to win it, it's a good location to use cards that like pull other cards out of your deck, because it doesn't consider them as being played. So like if you Armanzola a card to Luke's bar, it doesn't get pulled back in your hand and can stay.
Right.
So that's pretty much a guaranteed location win at that point. So like Bucky Barnes, Armanzola Venom there, or Carnage or something like that. Because I say Bucky Barnes because if you destroy it, then it leaves a Winter Soldier.
Doesn't it just throw it back in your hand for there though? Like it doesn't destroy him.
No, it doesn't. But if you can like move him there, like play him somewhere else and get him moved over with like a Vulture or a Iron Fist, or Armanzola, he would stay, right?
Right.
So comboing him like that, or just moves like that, or you can like I can say you can either choose to play a combination like that, or avoid the location if your deck's not built for that style. Now I've been running a lot of death this rotation, so I have cards that are kind of built to die and then stay in a location. So I've been able to take advantage of like blocking down specific locations, and Luke's bar worked out alright because I had ways of moving cards that weren't initially played there to other locations, like Armanzola, for example.
When you were talking about Iron Fist, Iron Fist would be a good one to knock like one of your bigger cards over there, right?
Yep. So like Luke's bar is a good situation for like a movement deck, like I was saying, or throwing in an occasional card like Iron Fist to move a big card over there to win that location. Because again, it doesn't consider as being played there, so they don't get returned to your hand.
Yeah.
And then for Altar of Death,
I mean, a lot of those same things really play there, right? Like play Bucky, it dies. Play Hood, it dies. You get a card.
Deathwave, Distro decks, yeah.
Mysterio.
It was a good week for Distro decks for sure.
I did find out what happens when you play Colossus there. Nothing, and you get no energy.
I was gonna mention that this week actually. When I saw that in the notes, I was like, Yeah, it does nothing for you. It's a waste to play Colossus.
Yeah, I finally saw
Have
somebody
to
do it,
play.
and I was like, "Thank you for finding out for me," because I did not want to find that out on my own.
Yeah, and that's
I
just
did
good
it.
programming, all in
Yeah.
all,
I
in my opinion.
I did it just to find an answer to the question because I saw that you wrote in the notes. I was like, I'll sacrifice some energy to test it out. But I was pretty sure, based on the way the location was worded, that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Because
Sabretooth was
I
a
mean-
good one there.
Sabretooth was on fire this week.
Yeah,
This,
he's free.
this outfit, absolutely insane. Just getting free +2 energy every turn.
Him and
if you
Deadpool.
could get him off. Yep.
the 3 cards that I used a lot at Death of Alter were Sabretooth, Wolverine, and Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
Those
lot of good
were the
ones.
3 that, like, were my mainstay at Death of Alter. I would occasionally throw in, like, a Nova to get that +1 power to everyone.
Yep.
If I had enough cards out. But my 3 mainstays were Sabretooth, Wolverine, and Bucky Barnes. Bucky Barnes because it guaranteed me the location win,
Right.
unless I was playing another death deck, in which case that was a whole other thing. But like 9 times out of 10 would guarantee me the location because Bucky would die, but Winter Soldier would come back, right?
Yeah.
Wolverine just moves to another location, pretty simple. Sabretooth, you get a free play over and over and over again, which also makes death cost less. So that was great. I don't have Mysterio, so I can't play a situation like that, but I would think that that wouldn't be a very good play.
Oh no, that
I
was
could
a
tell
good
you
play.
off the top. Yeah, he gives. I mean, you still get the clones besides the one that gets played at the altar, and you get +2 power. So it actually helped a lot. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, his cards count as played because if they don't, you know which, like, if they didn't count as played, all you have to do is go, oh, that one had an effect, those 2 didn't, okay, that's the real one. So literally, he's the one card where, like, his cards, they count as played. So if you
Okay,
if
so
you play
so it's
him
not
away
like-
from it, his clone
so
dies.
It's not like Squirrel Girl. Yeah,
No, it's not like Squirrel Girl.
No.
Because she's not trying to. There's no concealment effect that they had to do that for. He's the unique card in that
Okay.
aspect.
Okay.
Yep. His illusions are really helpful in Patriot.
Yes.
Like I said, I think Nova is a decent play at Death of Ultra
Yeah.
because he's gonna die anyway.
Yep.
Why not just use the location to do it? You waste less energy.
And you can buff yourself when you want to, and you don't have to play a card.
Wait
play
on
to
the
do
right
it.
card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you saw.
Oh, well, you have here Electro listed. That would be another good one because then you can kill him right away and like not worry about his effect.
Yeah, lots of
That's nice.
energy.
Psylocke's interesting because you have to play her right, and you don't get her energy till what, turn 4?
No, the next turn
So-
played. The next turn after played. So you could play her up as early as turn 2. And so if you drop her there on turn 2, next turn you'd get 2 energy from the location plus another one from her. You get 3 energy total.
Did that a lot with Mr. Negative. Lets you drop out on really early Sarah's if you're playing her, and then you can just wait an extra turn
Yep.
to play Mr. Negative on turn 4 at the altar as well.
Yeah, because those make her cheaper.
That's one change that I'd love to make to the deck that we'll talk about later on, but I don't have Mr. Negative yet.
Yeah, if I can make some, if I can add some cards to this list, Mr. Sinister
it.
and Brood were very, very prominent.
Oh yeah, Brood, because the clones
Yes.
remain. Yep.
Yep. Hood-
Sinister
Hood
clones
is
remain.
another
Yep.
one. Hood is another one because you don't
Yep.
have to worry about the -2, right? And
Yep.
you get
Yep.
the 6-power demon.
Yeah, definitely. Hood was fun. Definitely, that was a lot of fun. Got some big venoms easily.
And then you had
I
people that
really
were turning off the location with armor. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that happened a fair amount too. Or they would Scarlet Witch it, or
Or Storm or Rhino. Yeah.
I had some people storm it. Yep. Surprisingly, no one tried to Rhino it though. Rhino doesn't seem to be a very common card.
Rhino's bad.
He's got.
Unless you're
minimal
playing Cerebro
effects.
3.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing Cerebro 3, Rhino is just not good.
Yeah. I mean.
I
'Cause-
want to try a Cerebro deck so bad.
Because even in a Surfer deck, Storm still gets buffed, and you lock
Yeah.
the lane versus just blow it up.
Yeah. So for
I'm a
three,
Storm fan. I'm a
if
Storm
you
fan.
if he was a 3/4, I think you would see a lot more play.
Yeah.
But as a 3/3, he's just underwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, I think that's locations. So next we'll talk about some combos with super squads. So the first one we have is Avengers level threat Apocalypse Collector. This one's kind of fun. I was seeing some people play this one against me, like prior to the events and stuff. The more they destroy Apocalypse, the more powerful he gets, and when you play Collector, the more powerful he gets too, because Apocalypse enters your hand and it doesn't come from your deck, because you kill him and he comes right back. So that counts toward Collector, and that's something I think a lot of people don't like really think about off the top, going back to like, you know, the devs not being able to necessarily see everything that a card can do when they implement something. I didn't even think about this, you know, in terms of, yeah, Apocalypse very clearly comes into your hand from not your deck. So you can really buff yourself two ways without even wasting a card. And it was a very powerful combo when I seen this.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of the Defenders level.
Collector Sentinel.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of that one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I see that in a lot of tech decks.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, the biggest thing to roll back to that Apocalypse Collector combination is, unfortunately, that deck is very tight.
Yes.
It's a very tight deck.
Yes.
It doesn't have very many slots you can interchange things for.
Yeah.
But if you can manage to run like Morbius, Collector, and Dracula, you could end up with three very, very powerful lanes.
Yeah.
Later on into the game.
Yeah. And because it's not as common as the standard like Hella decks and stuff that you see played, you're gonna have a lot better luck if you can run this deck getting 8 cube and 4 cube wins, because you're gonna sucker them into it essentially, because they're gonna think it's Hella and it's not. And then for one of the starter does, this one's been really popular lately and has also been popular with the absorbing spider situation. So Moon Girl, Zabu, Spider-Man, this is gross. It's just gross. You play Zabu, you play Moon Girl, she gives you everything like duplicate. Now you got two Spideys. You just lock down 2 lanes turn 5. It's your game. You've probably snapped before they realized that was going to happen. And when they were in a powerful position going, haha, there's no way you win this, bro. And yeah, they walk right into it.
Yeah, it took me quite some time to realize that that's pretty much what every Zabu deck was playing when Zabu first landed. Unfortunately, lost quite a few cubes to that. It's not a play you can just see coming.
No,
because it's a very specific play.
Yep.
You would expect them to not have as high of a confirmation rate, I guess you could say, as they did. I saw quite a few of those. It was surprising that how often they got that off.
Yeah. When I try it, I'm like, those guys have all the luck. But yeah, this is where Rogue was effective on that night, because you take Zabu out of the picture, you can't execute that plan, because you need 8 energy for 2 spiders. So that one was pretty nasty though. And then the other one goes back to the Collector Sentinel thing. You throw in Quinjet, and now you got like a deck building here. And with this, you make all the Sentinels cheaper. You make Collector get more and more and more and more. The ramp up gets pretty high here. You throw in other Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type cards for draws, and you throw in some tech, and you can really control stuff and have really big turn pushes too. So this is a pretty nasty combo, and I can't wait to try it now that I finally got Quinjet. I've actually seen a lot of people playing this one more toward like Infinite and stuff prior to the Altar of Death event.
Yeah, it's a very good combination with Double Dino. So, it's
Yep.
you're getting guaranteed 3 power at the very least per turn. If you have Collector on the field after turn two, you're getting 4 power with Sentinel every turn. It's
Yeah.
and then Quinjet's reducing that cost, so you have possibly more chances to play other things. It's very hard to keep up with that curve if you're not playing a similar fast deck.
Yep. And at the surface, at the outset, it looks like, why are you filling your lanes with garbage, dude? And then you're like, oh, and yeah,
That's why.
yeah, and then it hits you. So that one's pretty good. Coming up, then we have like our decks. We'll do a little bit out of order here. We'll start with Mal's. His first one is called Cosmic Inversion.
Yep. Oh boy. So this was actually when Silver Surfer came out, I said, "Oh no, this is the card that's gonna absolutely keep me in this game." Because first off, I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan. I love Silver
Hell
Surfer.
yeah.
It is one of my all-time favorite heroes in the Marvel universe.
Hell yeah.
Even though he's honestly the dude's just depressed and he's forced to fly throughout the cosmos looking for planets for a dude to eat. It's like you have to watch civilizations die for centuries, eons, and you're just sitting here
Yeah.
like, man, this is just it sucks because he went to some really cool places and then eventually had to see some really bad stuff happen to him,
Yeah.
and it's just sad. But I mean, in this game, he's coming out with no holds barred because there's a lot of really good 3-drop cards and a lot of really, really good power ups that he can give to them. We talked about Brood earlier. Brood is absolutely insane in these decks. You go from having a 6 powers in a lane to 15 all of a sudden, and in a lot of cases that's devastating. And with this negative deck, that's even better because you're starting at 9, going up to 18 on one lane with 2 cards, and it's that can be a game changer. You're going into these games hoping your opponent doesn't have Brood Silver in hand, and they just drop that in an empty lane. And you have to contest that. Uh,
Yeah.
so even more so in this negative deck I've got going on here, because if you can time it just right, this is actually one I built with Zabu in mind. Because if you go into turn, a lot of times you're not going to always have the Psylocke negative combo to play negative on turn 3. If you do have the Psylocke negative combo, you always take that over the Zabu turn 3 play. But if you can't, and you don't draw Psylocke in time, you're just sitting on that negative in Zabu, you can drop Zabu on 3, and then you can drop down negative on 4, plus the Psylocke if you want to, or plus that Wong if your opponent's not playing a deck you think can counter that. And that can be devastating, because not only are you now setting up your play for a possible explosion of very, very low cost cards all over the board. You've got that Wong sitting over there, and you've got Silver Surfer, and you've got Psylocke, and you're possibly about to have a lot of energy and a lot of power spread out over a lot of cards.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
sweet.
it's a complicated deck to pull off. Like I said, I like these puzzle piece decks, but if whenever you can get it off, it's a very easy 8 cubes.
Yeah, like just the fact that Blue Marvel actually comes in with power at that point because of negative while costing less, or Iron Man being free, like so many of the other ones, Surfer, Mystique, like being like, their energy reduced to 0. I mean, you drop an Iron Man with a 5 power, he's already a 10. I mean, that's just nice. So,
Yeah, and
yeah, definitely.
one of the best things about this deck is you're not playing with any cards that are greater than 9 power, or greater than 8 power. So Shang-Chi isn't going to help your opponent in
Yeah,
these situations.
and that's always nice. That's always nice because you don't want to be susceptible to that if you can help it, or if you've got a deck where it would be predictable where to play it against. And if you play your Iron Man, they're gonna want to go, oh, Shang-Chi, but you could avoid that by them not. So they'll just buff to just under that threshold. That's actually nice. Unless you play Silver Surfer, and then some of them might get big. But I mean, that's so chancy for them.
Yeah.
fun fact, Silver Surfer, because like you're talking about going to the planets and the civilizations and stuff and watching them die. He always tried to take like lifeless planets, and so when they were gonna put him in game, as originally announced, I don't know if it was like a leak or what, but he was gonna buff every card on both sides that had that kind of cost or whatever. And I was like, that's interesting because that's like lore wise accurate. I'm like, I don't know how that's going to work. And then as soon as they implemented the card, they're like, it won't. Sorry, we were wrong. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, he probably would not see very much play at that point,
No.
especially in this current meta. There's just too many 3 costs on the board constantly.
Yeah. I think they realized that
three
real
seems
quick.
to be a very common energy.
In a game where... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's because you get a max of 6, right? So if
Yeah.
you play a 3-cost deck, you're gonna play, what, 2 cards turn 6 at most, unless you got like a Psylocke or Altar of Death or something to give you more.
Right.
Sarah,
So
yeah.
it's like 3 seems to be like the cutoff for having a lot of cards, unless you've got some way of like lowering the energy cost of other cards, like a Zabu or a Sarah or
Interesting you say that. Because Mal's next deck, Yeoladin version,
Sarah.
has a little bit of that Sarah action.
Yep.
And Magic.
And-
And Magic, who I also just mentioned.
Yep.
Yep. So this was actually my original iteration of the Silver Surfer negative deck. Without Zabu in it, you're expecting that Psylocke negative combo if you can get it. But this deck can also still get power, very high power, just with that Angela and Bishop combination right there. And then Sarah comes in, and if you're lucky, you have that Mystique and Iron Man. You can play both of those on turn 6 with Sarah. So it can be very devastating if your opponent's not playing Leech Leader.
Right.
True.
True. That is true. Leech Leader would be super unfortunate for that.
It's definitely one of the run killers of this deck, because in a lot of cases you might be sitting on the pocket like, this is it, next turn I'm going to unleash God upon this person, like they will not understand what's going to happen, and then they play Leech, and unfortunately that's one of those situations where my opponent is now ahead of me, because all of my cards are based off their abilities. If they don't have any abilities, they're useless.
Yeah,
So-
because none of them are just like big hitters in their own right. They need that
Right.
conjunction work.
Yeah, I'm experiencing that with my death deck. If they leech me, I'm kind of screwed because I'm relying on being
Yeah.
able to kill things.
And now your death costs.
Yep. And I mean, there's only a few decks that can deal with that combination, if we're being quite honest. But it's one of those things where it's like if you see your opponent play certain cards, you can expect a leech to happen. Which honestly,
Right.
there's actually a deck coming up. One of the other ones that I did submit for this segment, that I think is probably the most disgusting implementation of leech.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep. First, though, we do have another Surfer Sarah deck, but this one doesn't have the negative influence. And you call this one Go Forth My Herald.
Yep. So this is my traditional Silver Surfer deck. If you guys haven't realized already, I really like Silver Surfer. I've probably built about 17 or so different Silver Surfer decks. Unfortunately, only 3 of them could fit on my list at a time because I have a lot of other decks I want to play too. But this is probably the solid version of Silver Surfer that I could come up with. Rogue is that one card though in this list I would say is interchangeable. Possibly the Lizard as well. I saw some people actually running a similar list, but they took out the Iceman and put in Iron Fist for the event to deal with the altar.
Yeah.
Just in case you don't see that Brood, because in some cases that could be your make or break.
Yeah, it gives you 2
for those
options.
locations. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the main thing of this deck is if you want to try to get out as many 3 costs before turn 6 as possible, and then explode them with Silver Surfer.
Right.
Sarah lets you drop 3 on turn 6 if you have the ability to, and Maximus, Polaris are very large 3-cost stat sticks.
Right.
I've tried versions of this with Black Cat, Groot as well. The only issue with those is if you miss Groot, he's only a 3/4. And Black Cat, if you don't have 3 energy, you can't play her. So,
Yeah.
and she discards herself, and that's a slot that you miss. So, a
Yeah.
lot of these cases, I would say this is probably the most stable version of a Silver Surfer out there currently. And that Cosmo is absolutely necessary in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and then there's only one card that you could potentially hurt yourself with Killmonger, like, and Iceman's already gonna have done his job anyway.
Yeah,
If anything, that
He is.
that could clear you some space for a better card. On
You're not playing
Seraph
against. In a lot of cases, I will Iceman early, and then Killmonger, or I will even on turn 4, I'll Iceman then Killmonger because I want to make sure I have enough space on my board to flood
Right.
if I need to.
Right.
So it's in a lot of situations that Iceman's not surviving, unfortunately for him. But and hopefully my opponent's level 1 costs also aren't surviving. So it's an easy trade off in my opinion.
Yeah, especially if you run into like a Patriot, they start throwing debris or something out there. Killmonger
Yep.
looks real nice, and it's like, sorry, Iceman, gotta melt.
Yeah, and that's one of the like I would say one of the most fun fights to have with this deck is versus Patriot, especially if they're playing the Silver Surfer Patriot variant.
Yeah.
Because that is a very very you have no idea what's going to happen in those decks versus that it actually sometimes a lot of time comes down to who plays Brood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny because you have that Silver Surfer on that Brood, you're going to 15, but if they've got that Patriot and Silver Surfer on their Brood, they're going up 4 more power than you,
Yeah.
regardless of what you do.
Yeah, that's
So
nice. That is a nice one. And it gives you, playing that kind of a deck gives you 2 routes for power in terms of drawing out if you don't get your ideal curve. So that's kind of cool.
yeah.
The next one is the one you were talking about, your Congrats, It's a Leech
Yep.
deck.
I honestly, this is probably one of my favorite names. I'll be honest. I just sort of, I was actually pretty salty when I made this list, because I was really really tired of. I was playing Silver Surfer actually, and I was getting really really tired of getting leeched. And I am the type that doesn't like to play leech the traditional way. I feel like he's way too undervalued. Like, if you play him on turn 5, you're losing in a lot of cases.
Right.
And I refuse to play leader in most cases. I will be the first to go on record saying, unfortunately, he is in my death deck, but I just you really honestly he's insane in that deck. It's impossible to not justify his play in that one. But
Yeah, I can see it. You get a free death and you get a leader. So you're playing
Yeah.
power and stealing power.
well,
I
I've
can
seen some
respect
people. I've actually I'm playing a deck that I actually lost quite a few times too in that regards, where they play wave on turn 5 and if
Yeah.
enough things, you're having a She-Hulk come down, you're having a Death come down, you're having a leader come down. So you're sitting on 20. It used to be 26 power, now it's 25, coming down on you on turn 6, and in a lot of cases you're not going to be able to deal with that. That's just insane value right there.
It's a lot of power for one swing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, but to go back to this deck, this is a variation on my Lockjaw Jubilee. I was actually playing a Thor variant earlier, but the issue I came up with in that list is, in a lot of cases, you didn't want to see the hammer until very late, and it might show up. And you don't want to see it. If you don't have Jane Foster, you have no
Yeah.
idea whether or not you're going to see Wasp again or the Hammer at
Right.
all. And if they show up from Lockjaw or Jubilee, you're behind on power at whatever location you played those at. So
Yeah.
this one I think actually provides you with a lot more differentiation. You've got the Lockjaw, and if you can play your low costs on him, he's going to possibly pull out something bigger. You have your Jubilee, which you're hoping she pulls out something really nice, which I don't know why. Sorry.
Like an infinite.
Yeah, I mean, like if I can get Infinite, I'm happy.
That's the ideal date night for Jubilee.
Yep, honestly.
Yep.
I don't know what it is though, but Jubilee seems to be drawn to Leech. She's almost. I need to start tallying this because I think in almost every single one of my games where I played this deck and I played Jubilee, she pulls Leech out if he's not already in my hand, and it's very very weird.
That's what we saw in
but-
my original Infinite deck with Jubilee way like 3 seasons ago. every time I played Jubilee, she would suck out Daredevil, like just bring him out, and it's just like, I guess y'all are dating now.
You know, it's like, hey, I'm not gonna be the one to judge if that's like, you know, how you're partnering it up. But you know, that little green man is devastating in a lot of cases, and he's coming out for free. So,
Right.
And people are in some pretty kinky shit, so hey,
hey, I'm not judging. Yeah. But you know, you have Doctor Doom, you have Vision, you have Magneto, and in a lot of cases, any pulling out any of those can be devastating because your opponent may not have an answer. So. It's just one of those surprise. Who knows what's going to happen? You know,
Congrats.
It could be anything come out. Hey, congrats! It's a leech.
Right. I like that. Lockjaw and Jubilee just like having kids over there. Congrats. You're having a leech.
I would try this deck, but I think I'm missing 2 cards. I think I'm missing Magneto and Giganto.
All right, so those can actually be subbed out pretty easily. It's just big bodies. Magneto, in a lot of cases, if you pull him out with Lockjaw or Jubilee, you're not really happy about the fact that you pulled out specifically Magneto. You're happy about the fact that you pulled out a 12 power card. So, you know, if you wanted to put Hulk in, or Hulk or She-Hulk or any of those larger power cards that's not Destroyer.
Any big body.
Yeah, is just as fine, honestly. You know, I've seen some lists with Red Skull in them as well, and you know that works as well as long as your opponent's, you know, not filling up the location that he's in.
Yep. Red Skull's definitely an interesting one. I have a deck that I run him in, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Your last deck you have here, no brains, all bronze.
Yep.
I mean, Juggernaut's there. It tracks.
So,
You on this deck because of Patriot? That's the idea?
That's 100% the idea. This was actually originally this just used to be a pure Patriot deck, and then Silver Surfer came out, and you know I had to work my sauce on that. I wasn't actually able to build this deck until I got Debris though, because she just makes this. She's icing on the cake for this deck.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only is she a 3/3, she also throws out rocks that can be buffed, and she also fills up your opponent's side of the board, and it's just disruption, power, and spread. It's just the holy trinity.
Pure chaos. I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a deck it's pretty straightforward. You know, you're gonna play your bodies out. You want to play as many of those 3 costs as you can, if you can. Want to storm a location, possibly use Juggernaut or Brute on it to secure it, and then close it all out with that Sarah, and hopefully play Patriot, Silver Surfer, and Mystique on turn 3, and just exponentially increase the size of your board.
That's a disgusting one of the deck.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that cleanly, but a lot of cases, just having Patriot or Silver Surfer at any point in this can change the outcome. So I think it's a very solid one for sure.
Yeah, looks like a very fun deck to play too. With Juggernaut Storm, you got 2 lane controls. You storm and then hit Juggernaut there and deny, and then you can still buff them. So I mean, because you got Silver Surfer, so that's pretty sweet. If you debris away from that, you get the rock. You can buff too. I mean, that's just dope right there. I like that one. So then the deck I've been playing this week outside the events was because we had I think it was a chapter quest for the season pass where they're like, play 40 ongoing cards. And I'm like, I don't even have one in my deck. So I was like, all right, ongoing cards, you say. And I was like, I'll just build a deck that's ongoing. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This is actually kind of coming together. And so I have 0 Maw Goose. And that's like your early turn curve, if you can pull it off. Because you 0 into Maw, throw Goose down, and Goose down. And then they can't throw anything on top of that that's like major, because Goose won't let it happen. You got Zabu.
I mean, you can't either, but...
Yeah, but I'm not trying to at that point.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm zeroing Ebony Maw there is to be able to play Goose still. But if you do it right, like if you really do it really well, you can just like Goose then Ebony Maw on like turn 3 somewhere, because you have to play Maw at that point. But waiting longer to play the 0 Maw combo, if you're gonna do it, makes it harder to pull off Zabu into anything useful later. So what you really want is at turn 3 to be able to play Zabu. And then now Shuri only costs 2, Shang-Chi only costs 2, Spider-Man, Typhoid Mary only costs 2. Typhoid Mary is going to hurt, but if you did not pull off the Ebony Maw combo with 0 and you just did like Maw into Goose or something like that, or Maw into Cosmo, like really early, like from a location, if you do Maw into Cosmo, like if you get the energy for it, any kind of things like that you do, you have 0 for later, you throw that before Typhoid Mary or Red Skull, and with Typhoid Mary, she's going to put a -1 to every card on your side, every lane. So that's kind of shitty for 10 power, unless like like you've got plenty to spare on your other lane, and this will win you that lane. So 0 going into Typhoid Mary is helpful. 0 going into Red Skull. Mal was talking about Red Skull a minute ago. If that comes in the ongoing, that gets very, very ouchy, very, very quick, very big. You throw 0 before that, now you got a 15 on a turn 5. And then Spectrum for turn 6. If you manage to do Shuri into Spectrum, that's kind of nice because it makes Spectrum, and this is obviously if you've played Zabu, is the way this would happen, but Shuri into Spectrum allows Spectrum to be a 10. She still buffs all the ongoings, but if you did play 0 before one of your ongoings to remove that ability, they don't get buffed anymore. So that's something to note. But pretty strong. And then you got, counters with tech with Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, Cosmo.
When you mentioned that being a quest, I was going to say that's one filter that I wish they would put in the collection, so you could search cards via unreal effects and ongoing effects.
You can,
because
can't
they
you?
often have quests. No.
I'm pretty sure I
you
clicked
cannot.
ongoing, and that's how I built this.
On what? Mobile or PC? Because I can't find it.
Probably PC, but you should be able to type ongoing in the search function, and it should work the same too. If you have that.
Function?
Bro, you're missing the entire bottom right clicky.
There's a search function?
There's a whole bottom right
Oh,
flag
man.
clicky. My
man.
my man, we got to get you a new prescription for them glasses. There's an entire little blue flag clicky on the bottom right. This is so good on TikTok. Bottom right. There's a little flag you click. There's all the filters you could ever want. And you can make your own filters, and it'll even save them for like the next time unless you clear them. That's how I build decks quickly. I type their names in.
You've changed this entire man's life.
Right? Like, my God. The poor stuff you had to deal with before. How did you even build this deck we're about to show off? How did you build this Tiger style? It must have taken you 10 years, like dialing on a rotary phone or something.
Actually, no, but that's because the deck isn't originally. It's not an Invoke original.
Oh, so you only had to paste it? I can see. Okay, that makes sense. Knowing that you don't know the interface, you were able. Wait, if you don't know the interface, how were you able to paste this?
Well, see, I didn't paste it either. It was a YouTube video from a YouTuber called Cozy Snap.
Okay,
He's a person that I would like to re-share to in the future about possibly being a guest.
that'd be cool.
He's been doing a lot of Snap content, and this is a deck that he was talking about for the new season, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with like playing metas without knowing the the mechanics of the game.
Right.
He specifically mentioned in his deck build, I actually sent you the video, but he was like, if you don't understand the game mechanics, you will not win with this deck. But if you do, it is a fairly easy climb to infinite, right? Because it's not designed to necessarily be a Tiger style deck.
Right.
It's designed to be a Sarah deck. So your whole point is just basically survive your opponent. So it's a counter control deck. So you're not necessarily playing for power, you're playing to counter whatever your opponent does. Which isn't my favorite playstyle, but it has been an interesting experiment. I tend to be an aggressive player. I tend to want to be the one with all the power, and this deck is very much the opposite. So it's like it has power, but you only play power against your opponent so that you can survive them. Um, it's unfortunate when you come up against a leader with this deck, of course, because there is a lot of high power cards in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Was it?
So if he leaders your Sarah and your Tiger, well, you're in a rough spot, right? Because
Yeah, if they lead her early and they get your Sarah, or if they lead her on your turn 6 and you play Tiger, they get Tigers. Yeah.
I would say this deck probably has a pretty good leader matchup though with that Angela and Bishop.
Yes.
yes, it would, and does in fact. If you can save your Angela and like save your Angela for a location, right? Play Bishop fairly early, of course, but like save a spot for Angela to kind of roll in that location, and they try to leader that, they're not going to have that same flexibility because they will have played cards prior, right? So they won't get the Angela ability. It works out pretty nice.
Yeah, and you'll have filled the lane mostly, so they'll get next to nothing in that spot, which is a nice little leader counter. Wide
Yes.
decks versus tall.
I mean, it's an okay deck. I don't really have a name for it.
I named it for you, Tiger style.
Yeah. It's just called Deck 7.
Damn. Okay,
Board.
Tiger style is way better than deck 7. What is this,
No,
like
yeah.
Star Trek? What do you like on the turbo lift? Yes, deck 7, please.
I
Tiger
also
style.
built a Lost God deck this week that I meant to send to you.
We can do that one
So
next
we'll
time.
we'll talk about that next week. But,
Yeah, but I think that covers the super squads.
Yep.
All right, so for screen grabs this week, the first one we have was from our guest Mal, who had to go. And this one, he called Mal the Destroyer, or I called Mal the Destroyer. One of us called it Mal the Destroyer. He played a Destroyer, wrecked everything. Wakanda protected the one lane, which he didn't need to win. And there was a Hazmat that was played against him. And the Hazmat on Wong, on Odin, we all know is just absolutely the nastiest play. But, unfortunately, Destroyer came out, and it looks like Mal did not have priority. And since he didn't have priority, his Destroyer flipped second, did not get affected by all that nonsense. The way that the other cards did. Comes in, just goes brah, kills all his other cards, beats him at Dark Dimension. Might also be because it was Dark Dimension, it didn't flip till the end too. One of those two things. And so he wins Kunlun purely because dude doesn't have Luke Cage, right? So the Hazmat play screwed them on Kunlun. And Mal 0 from Destroyer, killing everything there, is better than the -6 that the dude had. So I'm guessing Mal had some, serious stuff going on that location that the opponent thought, hey, I can make something out of this, but they thought wrong. The next one we have is one of mine. And it's the sequel to last week's Never Tell Me the Odds. This one is called Never Tell Me the Odds Part 2. Because, yes, I lost. And, yes, you do see 3, count them, 3 leaders on the opponent's board. And I have the odds. I had to work them out. Deacidal Gaming helped me do it live when this happened on stream. This is 1,000th of a percent chance. 1,000th of a percent. Not even a whole percent, just 1,000th of a percent. Like for scale, the difference between the first and second place Olympian swimmers at the Olympics thousandth of a second, right? So thousandth of a percent chance is like the odds of that happening, and that would be a good visual representation. Other things that have a 1 in 100,000 chance. That's the same odds of getting a straight flush on 5 straight hands with no replacement cards in draw poker. It's the same odds as flipping a coin and getting heads 17 times in a row. Or getting a royal flush with only redrawing the hands on 6 hands. Basically damn near impossible. So what happened here is we've got an X Mansion that gave him a leader. We have a Nick Fury that gave him a leader. And then dude just has a leader. He played 3 straight leaders, bro. 3 straight leaders. One got pulled out because of X Mansion, so it played itself. And then he played 2 leaders on his own. After Nick Fury, he got another one. And I'm just like, Jesus, dude. And I still almost beat it. I weathered 2 of the leaders. The third one beat me. And I mean, cloning my Infinite. If he doesn't clone my Infinite, he doesn't win. But, man, that was rough. Because, I mean, dude, 1 in 100,000 chance. Because it's like we talked about last week with Never Tell Me the Odds, part 1. The odds of drawing 2 Silver Surfers, so to get a replicated card in the first place off of a location like X Mansion, well, that's less than 0.5%. And then, or no, sorry, it was like a half a percent. But then the Nick Fury one, now that made it a little different because that's a 6 cost. Now at 6 cost, like not the Fury card, that's a 5, but the cards he gives you are 6 cost, right? So that lowers the draw pool a little bit. So instead of having the same odds to draw the leader card from X Mansion as Nick Fury, he actually had a better chance. It was something like 12.5% chance to draw a leader from Nick Fury. So that's gross. That is so gross. Like, the odds of this, like, you will never see this again. You'll never see this again anywhere. Like, you can go watch my VOD or my clip that it happened in, or this podcast. You will never see this again from another content creator for a while, because it will take each content creator approximately 100,000 hands of this exact hand play to see it happen. So the odds that they're going to face this exact curve, face this exact deck, and have the fucking odds of X Mansion drawing, face that location, face X Mansion drawing the leader, Nick Fury drawing another leader, like all that. It's so infinitesimally small. You've got a better chance of like blinking your eyes, opening them, and ending up in the Andromeda Galaxy instead of the Milky Way. That is how small of a chance it is. Like, it's bonkers. So you'll never see this again. This is like screen grab of a lifetime right here. The next one's yours, Jer. You called this one Zola and Venom Walk Into a Bar, and you were just telling me about how you love this play so much in your deck.
So, I had, I played the combo of, so I let my Venom get big, right? I let him eat a bunch of cards, then I Armanzolaed him, which then copied him over onto Bar Sinister, and he continued to eat himself.
That's just fun.
And so you can see that, like, I had built him up big on Bar Sinister, then I Zolaed Bar Sinister, so
Yeah.
that's why I've got, like, the 2 armors, because basically Venom initially copied the middle, and then Zola copied to the middle.
Right.
So Zola ate him again, copied back
That's
to the
fun.
other locations. So it doubled it up. Guy stood no chance.
That's so many Venoms, so many Zolas. That is so much fun. And he Khazard. I had somebody do something similar to me in a game this week where they like put a Khazar or something like that. I think it was actually something worth it. Oh, it was Just Jones. They Just Jones Bar Sinister, and it was just an 8. And I'm sitting there like, okay, so I win Bar Sinister turn 6. Now let me focus on the game.
Yep. So, like, when I was running my 1-cost deck, it was effective to Khazar.
Yeah,
Because all my other spots were also full.
exactly.
Right? So it was like a quadruple
Yeah.
effect on all my other cards. So
Yeah.
it was very effective.
But he's only buffing like one lane.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he
that's
didn't
not
even
enough.
he didn't even play on top of rescue. So he's not even getting the actual rescue going on top of that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's a misplay and a half.
Which wouldn't have helped him because of where he played
No.
anyway. He was already had that as a victory.
Correct,
right?
correct.
Isola
Yeah.
basically
I mean 20,
zeroed.
26 off those low cost cards on the surface looks pretty good, but you gotta understand that the deck he was facing, he's gotta have understood it's much taller. Don't fuck with it.
And he clearly didn't. That
Yeah.
was I had a lot of fun with that one though.
Yeah, that's a good one. The next one we have up,
No chance.
I called Ultimate Taskmaster. And this one,
Oh,
Taskmaster got fucking huge because of Throne
Yeah.
Room. So what happened here was I had played not Death ahead of him, but I'd played something that I don't know. I either ate or it got destroyed, or I don't remember what happened exactly. But Taskmaster copied it and then ended up at the Throne Room, and so that was pretty nasty.
given the power, I would say probably 8. Probably 8.
Yeah, I probably ate something and copied it, but I'm not sure where it went after I ate it, that I was able to copy it. And he doesn't have like a Shang-Chi or something out, so I'm not exactly sure where the buff card disappeared to. But I think it might have just actually been Death. Is he a 48? I think I might have just literally copied Death, to be honest with you, because that would make him a
12 and then he
yeah.
covered it. Yeah, that would make it. That would work. Yeah.
Yeah, because Death would double, Taskmaster would double.
Yep. That would give him the right amount.
Yep. So that was pretty fun. This next one's yours, and it's I called it Zola Forever because it wasn't named. So it's like Wakanda Forever, but Zola Forever. And I called it that because yes, you lost to a superior Zola play. It looks like.
Yep.
But it was two Zolas, a Wakanda Forever deck, so Zola Forever is what I named it. That's nasty though. I've pulled off those big ass Black Panthers before.
I was so sure I had this in the bag, and then he fucking Zolas.
And I think the funniest part of that is that you wouldn't have seen it coming, and he had a coin flip to win it, right? Because he had played Scarlet Witch at the same location as Black Panther. So why would you assume Zola there? Because it's a 50-50. Like, what if he copies Scarlet
Exactly.
Witch?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not thinking that. Because that dude misplayed that or didn't get the optimum, like, curve and draw to make the play the way he wanted to with a pure one. Or he just knew he's got a 50-50 it or it's too predictable.
But if he didn't get that 50-50, he wouldn't have won.
No, he would have lost. So he won that on a coin flip, but what an impressive coin flip.
I just when I saw that, I was like, well, I think my message to you was damn. Dot, 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 dot.
Yeah, it was.
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
If
nasty.
I do that play,
Oh yeah,
I
it's Scarlet
guarantee
Witch.
you, it's Scarlet Witch all day.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 times. Your odds, yeah.
Like, shit. Fuck.
So the next one, the penultimate, we got one more after this one. I call this one Smoke's Zabu versus Sunspot at the World Ship. So, World Ship basically functions like Galactus, destroys the other locations and any cards at it. So we only had one place to play. So, he had Squirrel Girl for like an early turn, right? Like, so he had put it down there turn 1 before World Ship flipped. So when World Ship flipped, he was like probably kicking himself for that because now he's got Squirrel Girl there and not a lot of point to it. So very easy for me to win it at this point. All I had to do was Zabu so that I could play Typhoid Mary on the cheap, and etc. But I believe I put the Zabu down, then I put 0 into the Typhoid Mary so that Typhoid Mary doesn't reduce my cards. And then I put Red Skull down. And I did that because even if I buff all his cards, I give them an 8. But I get a 15. So it's...
because of Squirrel Girl. If he had had a more powerful card there.
Yep. Exactly. And so, since I didn't have a more powerful card I could play, I had 4s and 2s and...
Could have played a Shuri, could you not have?
Nah, because as you can see, I drew that going into that turn. It was the last card I drew.
Oh, you would have already...
Had it been in the position in my hand there that Claw is in, yeah, then I should have played Shuri and played something else or whatever. But no, I drew her last, unfortunately. And I didn't want to Goose because he had that Sunspot. All he has to do is sit there, just suck up energy for the rest of the game. I didn't want a Spider-Man, same reason. And Claw doesn't have any effect. Ebony Maw, it was too late to play him.
Yeah.
So, worked out good.
Yeah.
But it worked out good.
The only option would have been waiting a turn, but that could have screwed you too, right?
Well, I played Red Skull on turn 6, so there was no more turns.
How did you... If you played Red Skull on 6, then how did you draw Shuri after playing it? Because you don't draw another card once you end.
No, I didn't draw it after playing it. I'm saying I drew that card on turn 6. Like, I can't play it ahead of another card because I only have one spot there. She's only worth 2, and she wouldn't have anything to double. That's what I was saying.
I thought she doubled... I thought it was...
No, it's not an ongoing. It's an on-reveal. You on-reveal double the power of the next card played. So, I would have had to have had her for turn 5.
Yeah, you're right. That's your only play.
Yeah, so my only play was Red Skull. So I played him knowing that he's got a bunch of these like 1 costs and 2 costs. They're not going to have a lot of power. And so I actually did the math. And if he hadn't even played M'Baku and just let Sunspot be Sunspot, he still wouldn't have beat me. So I was like, yay. But that was a fun one. Then our last one is a Sinister Venom play by you. So-called because you played him at Sinister London.
Yeah, I think I did this one like because one, it was an 8-point sweep. Like you don't see it very often.
Yeah, an 8-cube sweep, and you had a 50 Venom there. I mean that's gigantic and enormous.
Yeah, I mean its power gets plus because it's the only card there because it ate everything else.
Right.
Plus it ate everything else that was there, so you can see that it was probably, some pretty high power cards. I think I ate Death there, and I Nova earlier, so there was some buffed cards because of Nova there too. So
nice.
It ends up being and then of course my X-Mansion pulled Black Panther out.
Yeah, I see that there. The gray border, 8 only power. Yeah.
So I was set there. On one side, like, played the first Venom, and then I because I got a copy of them, right? I had two
Right.
Venoms, so I just like played them at.
Played them where you cut out.
decently- I just yeah, the copy of Venom really came in handy. Is what I was trying to say. It's
Okay.
Like, I initially had filled up Mr. London with other cards, right?
Yeah.
So he had built
Yeah,
up
camera.
to the 27 and then copied over to the second spot, and then
Right.
made what was at the second spot. Is what happened.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a really fun game because it ended up being a sweep for one, and he played some decent cards. They just didn't compare to my Venom,
Yep. Well, that's
and I got lucky with the Black Panther pull.
yeah. That's
See
a
it there, yeah.
pretty sweet Sinister London though to get Venom onto late like that. Plus he gets the 5 from Atlantis, so that's just man, what a big Venom. So he was 45, and then he got that 5. That's nice. That's very nice. But yeah, so that's our screen grabs of the week, and we'll be right back with our superhero system, and then we'll do community clips.
By the way, I don't have any of the community clips.
We don't need them anymore because we just put them at the end.
Oh yeah, we're not having the yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if you want to see them, you can watch. So on superhero system, this week we're going to talk about if ranks were different table stakes in poker and the implications. So when we say ranks, we're not talking about individual levels. I don't mean like 41, 42, 43, like, like a 10 cube level. We're talking about 50 cube like levels, like, the actual badge levels, iron, gold, plat, diamond, vibranium, omega, galactic, infinite, right? So if those were different table stakes, right? What would the game look like? What would your comfort levels be? If cubes were bankroll, then how do you look at that? So the first thing to think of is when you're playing poker, the table stakes are the blinds. So like $1 and $2 for small blind, big blind, $2 and $4 small blind, big blind, $5 and $10, right? And so like a high stakes game, has big blinds. So we're going to talk about them in terms of those three values though: 1, 2, 2, 4, and 5, 10, and where your comfort level resides. So when you're playing poker and you have a bankroll, you're always trying to build that bankroll, and you're trying to make it bigger and bigger, have more money and more money, right? Like it's like your total savings, your net worth, as it were, in poker. And one of the things that's true about it in terms of poker is you're going to have a table stake that you play at where you tend to succeed the most, or you tend to like just pull in the money, but it's a smaller stakes, so your bankroll's not getting built up by as much. And then there's going to be, the table stakes where like you play at those and you're against people that maybe that's like your skill level max, and you're not better than any of these people by much, or you're equally matched against them. So all skill being equal, it's the odds and the lucks of the draw. And so when we're talking about like super easy, we're talking about like the $1 and $2 tables, right? And when you think about that in terms of like your rank, this is where you're so comfortable that it's easy to collect the cubes. You're just pulling in the cubes. It's not a problem when you're at this rank. So like think after reset or something, that low rank you get dipped at and you just like bust your way through. That's your easy zone. It's about a rank or two below where you would top out in a season. So consider that like a 1 and 2 stakes. A 2 and 4 stakes table situation is like that's going to be your slower gains. That's the rank where you feel most comfortable playing new decks and still learning, as opposed to just stomping, without fear of like getting tilted by by losing too much and etc. because you're playing in a comfortable area. For me, that is probably diamond. Like, I'm comfortable trying new decks there, playing whatever. My stomp zone is anything below that usually, though it took me a while this season to get from gold up after the reset, but I still got to plat. But I'd say diamond is like my zone where I don't stomp, but I feel comfortable experimenting. Like when we did the deck mirroring experiment, I deranked while doing that because I was trying to get information about decks I was facing, so I would lose more cubes than I should in certain situations. And when I did that, we had seen that I dropped down to just under diamond, like the very, very highest end of plat. And as soon as my experiment was over, I was back in diamond like nothing. So that's like the 1-2 tables to me, right? That's like super easy. Got my cubes back, nothing. And then it took me 59 hands with a real deck. I say a real deck because when I hurt my wrist, I was playing Agatha because it required less clicking and mouse movement so that my wrist could recover. And when I was playing that deck, it was a couple hundred hands, and I got like a good chunk of the way back to Vibranium, but not a big chunk. Like I was in low diamond, like not 52, like 62 or whatever. But when I started playing, like a real deck that I like to play, it took me 59 games to get back to Vibranium, and then Vibranium's the grind, which would be like the 5-10 tables for me. That's where things feel sweaty. That's where you usually top out. That's where you always get back to with your tried and true deck, like I was just saying. It's where you have to focus on the quality of retreats and the quality of your snaps more, and your gains can be a lot slimmer while losses are more wide due to you being surprised by and subsequently losing to plays you weren't able to readily identify at that level. So bearing that in mind, what's the takeaway from all this? Like, great, Smokey, you came up with a fucking analogy for fucking cubes and table stakes in poker. Who gives a shit? What's it mean, Smokey? Okay, well, check this out. What if cubes were bankroll, though? It's easy to get back to your comfort rank and table stakes, so there's no reason to be afraid of experimenting with new decks, despite the lack of an unranked mode, because statistically, you're gonna get back to where you get back to every time regardless. Like, it's just gonna happen because that's the way the difficulty levels are. That's the way the MMR works. That's the way ELO is designed. So yeah, you can experiment with a deck, lose a couple ranks. Do not fret, do not tilt. Don't worry about losing your bankroll of cubes, as it were, because it's going to be super easy to recover that, because there's like the further you fall, the easier it is for you to climb. And there's only that one level that you feel sweaty at. So, like, you're always going to get back to that one. You got anything to add to that, Jer?
No, I think I pretty much agree with everything you said. Like, I mean, yeah, I think it's very valid, everything you just said. So I'll do it this week.
Yeah, so I think that'll do it for this week, and we'll hit you out with some community clips if you have any of those to send, or if you have any screen grabs of games, if you have any decks you'd like us to talk about. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up on socials, on our streams. Hit us up email, Snapverse616 @gmail. And we will try to get that going. If you would like to guest appear like Mal just did this episode, also hit us up. We're always looking for guest appearances. We love to build the community. Shout out the homies, and we all win when we all win. So Excelsior, true snappers, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Okay, bigger than 4 and bigger than 6. No, bigger than 4 and bigger than 0. Bigger than 4, bigger than 0. Come on, Dracula. Yes! Let's go! Wait, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. If not, he got it. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Oh my gosh. The clutch play. Yikes. Oh. Well, he stole our rogue. So he goes to -4. Which helps me out a ton, but he's going 4 times. No, he's gonna be 24. Wait, no, one more time? Yes! Let's go! The fact it's because he stole our lizard. If he hadn't stole our lizard, he would have won. Oh my gosh. Wait, can we get a clip of that? Can somebody clip that? This is why I don't play Rogue in my Silver Surfer deck.
Where each deck fitted, even though I'm prone to snap that. Known to be so quick-witted, you sound Drax when you snap back. When everyone knows it rains Jess Jones on the tap mat. Think your boss sings the flow, administer vision if you're not at the spot I blow with a skip track. You tried to blow back the roof, so my armor said I will skip that. Jubilee still got a +1, Okoye said she's with that. Cause the Nightman cometh, Iceman stunneth, while the Hulkman smashing America ass who done it? Snapverse616. 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 Then Invoke drops Kazar cause he's Mr. Fantastic. His spectrum of skills are what let me handle this rap shit. His puff up, his clutch up, smokes 3 sacks like it's magic. But it's a Wolfsbane classic. You thought your full moon's Jurassic, but it's actually tragic. If I'm a silver fox with the flippity yippity yapping, he's quick like a rabbit. His girls unfurling squirrels while his flirkins hurling antics. Invoke the hawk-eyed watcher who ought to see through your static.